Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. So as a hobbyist, a DIYer, and also someone who is just starting out to create and sell merchandise and products through my various social media platforms, I'm always on the lookout for tools and technology that I can get my hands on that will allow me to create and customize my own creations. With that in mind, that's why when Atezr reached out to me to unbox, test out, and review their all-new L2 36-watt laser engraving machine, I was super excited and said absolutely. Now with all that in mind, this of course is my very first laser engraving machine, but it is something that I have always wanted to get in order to start engraving products that I'm making, as well as my all-new line of hydroponic towers that I'm creating. Really, I wanted that instead of printing my own logo on those towers, which has been a bit of a challenge. So if laser engraving and DIY projects is something that you've been looking to get into, sit back and join me as I unbox, set up, and test this machine out for the very first time. So before we begin, let's unbox this to see what all this comes with and attempt to assemble everything for our first engraving. We'll talk about the specs and what I think about Atezr's second generation laser engraving machine as a first time user in this space. Okay, so first things first, let's go ahead and open this box. And at first, this box is pretty heavy. It's got some weight to it, but it's nothing that I don't think a single person can manage. All right. Now, as I unbox and set this up, I will kind of talk through everything as a first experience, since this is my first laser engraving machine. So I'm going to be learning as I go. Okay, so first things first that I see is this. I guess this is something like a build. This is like a build plate. That looks like it's completely made of some type of steel or aluminum material. It says it's a giveaway, so it's a cutting mat, which you place under whatever you are engraving. And I guess this is a giveaway that comes with the laser engraver itself. Okay, and it does have a protective surface to it, which you're supposed to remove. So we'll do that first. I wish there was a little tab on this so it would make it easier to remove. Okay, so we've got that. It does collect a lot of fingerprints pretty easily. We'll put that aside for now. All right, so as you can see, it's covered with styrofoam, so very well insulated and protected during shipping. Some instructions for the software, as well as easy installation instructions, which I'm definitely going to read, as well as a user, another installation manual, which is, pretty detailed, and then the user guide overall. Which is very colorful and a high quality instruction manual. A couple languages are involved in that. We'll put this aside. Okay, so again, as you can see, everything is nicely packaged in their own way and protected by the styrofoam material. In this packaging, we've got some of the rails, we've got your air assist module, you've got the laser unit itself. Let's see, you've got protective glasses, the LCD screen, and some cables and components like some screws and everything else. So let's go ahead and start taking this stuff out and then see what all we have to assemble. Okay, so since this is my very first laser engraving machine, I was very careful when I was unboxing it to make sure that I didn't forget anything and ensure that I unpackaged everything and got it all here. And I think I have everything, but we'll find out for sure once I start assembling and putting this thing together. So as you can see, there are a lot of parts to it. Not as many, I think, and you will have to assemble this thing. But I will say that right off the bat, the machined parts definitely do look very high quality. So as you can see, there are a lot of components for you to assemble. You've got your rails, you've got your laser module, you've got your air assist unit, you've got your LCD, you've got your protective glasses, a measuring key, you've got your power brick, your power plugs, various different cables, as well as your different screws, a key, and different accessories. You've got your rod, which I think goes in there to stabilize the unit itself. There's a place where you stick this rod in just to make sure everything stays structurally sound. So yeah, let's go ahead and assemble this and then test this thing out. And then if you're new like me, then you get to join me in this experience of putting together our first laser engraver. So it's just like when I got my first 3D printer, the Ender 3 Pro, and putting that thing together. Of course, now 3D printers are simple and pretty much come fully assembled already. So this is going to be just like when I started with 3D printing. So let's go ahead and assemble this. And then if you do see anything I can do better or that you would recommend or any suggestions at all, please make sure you leave me a comment in the comment section below. I'm just starting out and learning, so I appreciate any kind of advice or feedback, and I'd love to hear from you. And as you assemble things, you definitely don't want to tighten all the screws all the way, just in case you need to make adjustments. Okay, now that that's done, we'll go around and tighten all the screws. One thing about these hex bolts though, they do strip pretty easily, so you want to be careful. You want to tighten these just enough so that it's sturdy. Okay, so that is now done. All right, so once we got the frame assembled, let's see what's next. This saran wrap is doing its job. It's very difficult to get off. Okay, I spent so much time unraveling that it was complicated. Okay, and according to feedback that I've seen so far, this is probably the most complicated part, is putting in this sustainer bar, because you have to push this all the way through until you get it into this little hole right there. And you just want to push it until you can't go any further, so that now the bar is inside the little gear. And how do you lock the transfer shaft? So inside there are two little hex bolts that you can use to lock this little pole into place. So I want to use this to tighten those. Okay, you tighten both of those hex screws to tighten it and hold it in place. And I believe that's probably okay, and it feels like it's locked in place. Okay, so I believe that's locked in place now because I've tightened it as far as it can go. And the bar is spinning with it, so yeah. And push the left and right y-axis sliders to the bottom. So it says to stand this machine vertically and push these y-axis sliders all the way to the bottom. So that's as far as they can go. Okay, and if you don't do it all the way, it's going to affect the accuracy apparently. Okay, so once that's done, insert and lock the transfer shaft. Okay, and I think I've already locked this in place. Another inner screw. Okay. Okay, so apparently there's a bolt on this side too. Okay, I think I got that screw, and I think it's probably one of the more complicated ones to get to because the hole is just so small, and it is deeper than, you know, this thing can fit, and this end of it is not made for that. You need this end to go in there, but it doesn't reach the part you need to tighten, so, you know, not exactly the easiest part of the setup and installation, but I got it. So that part is complete. Okay, so now that we were working on that part, again, we'll put this standing up and then just push these all the way down to the bottom. In the instructions it's disassembled, but this thing already came pre-assembled, so I'm not sure I actually need to remove those side end caps, which would be nice. Remove the X-axis top cover. Okay, so that's this thing. Okay, so of course I can't remove the side covers because they're screwed in, so that was interesting. Okay, so I will need to remove this top end cover, which has all these cables attached already, which is going to make it a little difficult. Try not to mess up any of these cables. Okay, the limit switch. And it's nice that all these are labeled with the actual steps and the parts for each step. Okay, the limit switch will seem to be easier to put on if I do this, put this thing vertical. Maybe if I put the screws in first. Okay, the limit switch is now installed. And I know I'm doing this a little out of order, but I'm just going to connect the cable now just to make life easier. Okay, after that, install the laser module. Okay, we'll just loosen this, and it should slide right in. Should be the keyword. Yep, there we go. And I'm not sure exactly how far this thing is supposed to go down. Do I just line it up flush against the base with a screw? No, let's just put it here for now. Okay, let's just go through and plug everything in. Okay, so I feel like I'm just guessing for a lot of this. Okay, these two should go together. Be a little bit more comfortable if this was backup cable, no need to connect to machine. What does that mean? Well, what's one? I mean, I think that backup cable is what is supposed to plug into this. There's no other cable there. Got that extra cable down there. I don't know what that is. Oh, that's the backup cable. Okay, got it. You know, and looking at cables that fit with one another, because the instructions aren't too accurate right now. And there's not much give on all these connectors, so, which is understandable, but it's very difficult. Makes it very difficult. Okay, so I believe that is now done. I'm gonna probably have to screw this thing down. Done following these instructions. Okay, I'm gonna assume this one goes up here. Okay, I'm probably gonna have to lower this because it's just not. Okay, so right off the bat, the cable connection guide, not very helpful because first of all, it's not very accurate, and it's very hard to see what cables are what. So you pretty much have to figure it out yourself. This one, of course, connects to the inside. These cables connect to the laser diode itself. And then there's this free cable here that's an auxiliary backup cable that you don't need to connect apparently. But hopefully, I got everything plugged in correctly, but we'll find out once we power this thing on. That's going to be the test. Okay, then we need to screw in this top bar, which I already assumed we would need to do. And I'm kind of thankful that, this pretty much came pre-installed already. Okay, so you will need to remove the top cover or the end cap so that you can install the screws for this thing, for the cover. But because I can't see in there, I can't tell which screws I'm supposed to be. So it's just going to be a touchy-feely guessy game. And it's none of these screws. So again, instructions aren't that clear about which screws to use for step number 10, but I'm going to assume, just because I'm looking at it, that the ones that go under the end cap are the black screws, and then the ones that go on the outside are the silver screws, just because looking at the overall aesthetic. Okay, so we'll start locking this thing down. Okay, silver screws in the side here. Okay, there's one side. Let's do the other side now. Okay, black screws first. Okay, I don't know if that's supposed to be loose or tight, but it was a little loose, so I just went ahead and tightened it. Okay, that is done. We will put this back on. Okay, so that's done. It says installation complete, but it's not because this tube, I don't know if it's supposed to go there or what. Okay, so this is supposed to plug in here. Connect the air tube here, so I'm going to assume this goes here. And then this long one probably connects to this end. It says do not bend the air tube. Okay, and this regulates the airflow to provide oxygen for the laser. All right, and I believe we are all set up now. At least I hope so. And wiping cloth. HDMI cable, I guess it goes on the side over there. USB-C and USB-A. I'm going to unplug this power brick for now. Okay. Okay, so we've got the LCD, which we need to install. Now where that goes, there's got to be a place to mount it. Oh, it's magnetic, okay. So the LCD is magnetic, and it will just pop onto this thing, onto this groove itself, so that's pretty cool. So you can shift it around. And then this, I don't know where this goes. I think this goes on the side here. Okay, so I'm just going to arrange this up, and then we'll come back and do a test print. Okay, so one thing that I did learn is that When you install the laser, you just drop it all the way down to the table. So we are going to just drop this all the way down until it's against the table. And I'm not sure if that's correct, so if it's not, please let me know in the comment section below, because I want to make sure that I'm doing this right. And then I guess you adjust this knob until the level hits the arrow down here. The 0 hits the level down there. So you drop this down all the way until the 0 lines up with the arrow. And then you tighten the screws. Okay, and now to finish this setup, we're going to connect all these cables to the air assist unit as well as the LCD all into the control box. Okay guys, so it's been about a day now, and instead of going out to buy a table, I went ahead and used some of the wood that I had laying around and built myself a little tabletop that I could place on top of my unboxing table that would accommodate the laser engraver. So as you can see, I now have the laser engraver sitting on top of that platform, and it fits it just perfectly. So what we're going to do now is do our first engraving job using the Atezr L2 36 watt laser engraver. So what I went out and did was I bought this plywood that should fit perfectly within the frame of this laser engraver. And yes, it does just perfectly. And we'll go ahead and do our first job. So just a couple things before we start. You're going to want to make sure you are doing this in a well-ventilated area, because this thing can produce a lot of micro dust as well as smoke. So in my case, my space is a little bit well ventilated, but then I also did open the window, and I have a bunch of fans that are directing the airflow out towards that window. So it's going to blow the dust and any particles out the window, hopefully. Now I did do a quick test run off camera as soon as I set this thing up to make sure everything was working fine. And what I learned was that it will set off your fire alarms. So that's why it's also important that you do this in a well-ventilated area. And not because of the potential of fire, but just a lot of the dust and smoke is not good for your health. The other thing is you should wear these protective glasses, because of course it is a very bright laser, and you just want to make sure you're protecting your eyes as well, especially because it is cutting wood and it is, you know, a piece of machinery. So always wear protective equipment to make sure that you're keeping yourself out of harm. Anyways, we're going to go ahead and start this thing up and do a test run to see how well this thing works. Okay, so we're going to put on our safety glasses, and pretty fashionable, I gotta say. And then we are going to turn off the child safety lock, and then we're going to power this thing on. And as you can see, the LCD is pretty clear. Not many options to it, so you have your settings. And then you can set the mode to fast, standard, fine. You've got tilt detection, flame detection, autofocus, touch sound, auxiliary positioning, and then just an about me. So not that many settings to worry about. And then you can click the engrave. And we will do the high-speed test file that's included with the engraver. And we'll just go do that. And this thing is pretty loud when it kicks up. And I do like that there is a gauge here that tells you how strong and how powerful the laser is. So you're going to want to watch that just to know if you need to clean out the laser and just what power setting the laser's on. Okay, and we are just going to go ahead and start the high-speed tests. Okay, so right now it starts by autofocusing, and then it goes and tests the height. So that's the thing I also like about it, is that it's got auto leveling built in, which is nice. Now that plywood is not completely flat, so I'm hoping that that won't impact the quality of the print, but we'll find out. Okay, so we'll let it do its thing, and then we'll come back to see what the results are like. Okay, it's not so noticeable in the video, but this laser engraver does produce a lot of smoke, and I'm pretty sure that's how it is for pretty much every laser engraver there is. That's why there are a lot with enclosures, and it is recommended that you do use a dust collector or something to minimize the amount of particles, dust, and clippings or whatever that are produced. So definitely make sure you keep that in mind and engrave in a well-ventilated area. Okay, so now that this thing is done, let's go ahead and take a look at what it produced. So, as you can see, it turned out very nice, and the quality, I gotta say, is amazing. I'd say not bad for a first print job, and definitely I want to test this out to see how well it does on other materials as well. So, let's go ahead and talk about some of the specs and what you can expect. Now from a specs perspective, this Atezr 36 watt laser engraver has a speed of up to 54,000 millimeters per minute with up to 36 watts of power. It's capable of cutting through 30 millimeters of wood and 15 millimeters of acrylic in one pass. So it's definitely a high-powered, high-quality laser. It's got built-in security features such as a child safety lock, as you saw before, a safe flame detector, and sloping position protection, and it also has the ability to resume if you were to lose power during any one of your jobs. Overall, it's got a working area of about 410 by 410 millimeters, and it has the ability to autofocus to ensure the best quality output of all your print jobs. It supports all file types, and it's compatible with pretty much every single operating system there is. Now probably what's best about this laser engraver is this air assist module that it comes with. This device ensures that you get accurate and clean results with every job that you do. It removes dust, particles, smoke, and anything else the engraver produces while it's working. Now above all that, this laser engraver is also pretty inexpensive compared to all the other laser engravers out there. And from a price over power ratio, the cost is very reasonable, especially right now if you order during the pre-sale where you're saving about $450. That drops the price from $1,700 to around $1,350, which I think is a pretty good deal for this laser engraver and everything that you get with it. In addition to that, it's also one of the more powerful laser engravers on the market right now, and as you can see, it works very well. Now overall, I think this Atezr 36 watt laser engraver is well built and very sturdy, and I especially love the color of the machined aluminum frame. Now overall, I know that's just its first test print, and especially my first test print, but overall I think it did a very nice job and the print itself came out very nice. Now I do plan on printing on other types of material as well as seeing what else can be produced with this thing, and then I'm also excited to test out its cutting capabilities, but that's probably going to be in a future video. Right now my studio is probably not the best place to place this thing and do some jobs, so I'm probably going to carve out an area where I can do more test prints, and then I'll film those in following videos. Now going back to the quality of the hardware and looking at the quality of the output for my first laser engraving job, and going back to if I would recommend this Atezr 36 watt laser engraver, it definitely does impress me, and I definitely think it did do an amazing job on the engraving itself. It's made of great quality hardware, it looks sleek, it's very powerful, and it's very fast. The engraver itself is well built, and I like the accessories that come with it, and I think the price does match the quality that you do get when you do order this thing. Now I do want to thank Atezr for partnering and sending this laser engraver out to me. It definitely did get me hooked on it, and you'll be seeing a lot more engraving videos from me. I'd say if you're interested in getting into laser engraving as a hobby or even professionally, I definitely recommend picking one of these up, especially during its pre-sale where you can save $450. The price versus what you get is definitely worth it, and if you're interested, I will leave a link to it in the description section below. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed this video and found it helpful. I know we didn't do much engraving in this video, and it was mostly about unboxing, setting it up, and testing out the first print. You can expect that I'll probably post more videos about laser engraving using this device in the future, so make sure you subscribe, ring that bell icon so you can get notified when I post new content. If you found this video helpful and enjoyed it, please make sure you also smash that like button, and we'll see you next time. See ya.